Hello and welcome to Nintendo Pals Podcast, episode 97. There was a new Direct, a mini partner showcase, and we're going to be giving our thoughts on that, plus some rumors and a whole bunch of amazing questions from you, the community of Nintendo Pals. So let's talk all of that and more. Well, greetings, fellow Nintendo Pals. My name is Andros. I'm one of the hosts of the Nintendo Pals podcast, and I am joined by the other host, the cool guy, the bestest yupper there is on the internet, Micah.
Yup.
And this is the Nintendo Pals podcast, the weekly show where we talk games we're playing, Nintendo news, rumors, and community-submitted questions and topics, plus whatever else we want to talk about. And that's what this show's all about. Micah, I gotta ask, how the heck are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's nice. I hit a button just now on my mouse that has turned it into slow motion. I don't know what I did.
That's pretty cool.
I can't. Now everything is like way slower. I have to do like huge movements to do stuff. And I'm
one of them fancy gaming mouses.
Oh! Okay, I fixed it. It was that button. That was that button I pushed. Yeah. Well,
that's like your aim down sights button.
Speaking
so
of,
you get those fine.
Oh, that's what that's for. Oh,
I think so.
Maybe I should start like learning to play with a keyboard and mouse. Just kidding. This is a Nintendo show. I'm not using keyboard and mouse. Controllers all the way. Micah, speaking of pushing buttons, do you know what we're going to do tonight?
Well, I thought I did until you mentioned pushing buttons.
Well, we have buttons that many people can push at the bottom of every single one of their podcast listening apps of choice. There should be a 5-star review button, and by pushing the 5-star review button, you help us take over the world of Nintendo podcasts. That is right. We are going to try to take over the world, and we do that through your help with 5-star reviews. And Micah, would you believe it? Another week goes by, and the streak is alive. We got 2 new 5-star reviews, an anonymous 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and an anonymous 5-star review on Spotify. Now, because those are anonymous, we don't know who you are to shout you out, but you know who you are, and we thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. It helps people discover the show and helps us move up in the podcast rankings and search results. It's just cool. And we've kept this streak alive for like 2-3 months at this point, where we've gotten a new 5-star review every single week. So people, help us out. We got to keep it going. We got to keep the 5 stars alive. We require 5-star sacrifices each and every week to appease the 5-star algorithmic gods that keep our podcast boosted. It's quite a vicious cycle, and we need your help. Why did this turn to sacrificing? I don't know what's.
I got a little dark there.
It did.
Those stars
please.
have families too.
Please, just leave us a 5-star review. It doesn't have to be weird. We don't have to be weird about it. But Micah, interestingly enough, we are now at 52 5-star reviews on Apple Podcast, the US Apple Podcast Store, and 41 on Spotify. Now, let me tell you something. Spotify is kicking Apple users' bums right now because according to our statistics, about 40% of our listeners listen on Apple Podcasts, and only 17% listen on Spotify. And they've left almost as many reviews. Apple users, you got to get down there. Got to get those 5-star reviews. You don't want Spotify to beat you. Don't do that. Don't let them beat you. Turning
Well, what's this us versus them mentality going
well,
on here?
it's all the best part is it both benefit us. So yeah, it's like one of those like well yeah, we'll just move on to the first segment of our show here, and let's talk slow moving mouse. How do I get it back up to normal? Hold on, pushing button. There we go. Let's talk what you playing. This is off the rails already. Micah, I'll let you take over from here. What have you been playing lately?
Not too much. Played like my classic games I always play. Played a little Rocket League. I guess that's the only classic game that I always play at this point. But played a little more Fall Guys. Still mostly fun.
I like that specification. It's mostly fun.
There's still those like two mini games. I don't even know what to call them that you just like hope don't come up ever. But overall, I think they're all done very well for the most part, and I really like being able to play with a duo ship. I
Yeah,
don't know why. It just playing with someone else makes it a lot more enjoyable to me.
it's a lot easier. I think it seems a lot easier because uh, other duos aren't as good as us. So
Exactly.
I don't know why it seems easier, but it seems like we make it to the end rounds, the final round, a lot more in duos than I do solo. Although
Oh yeah, for
since
sure.
playing duos, I think I do a lot better in solo, just because I'm getting like you see more games that you've seen before.
Yeah,
Every
you
once in a
know how
while,
to beat them now.
yeah, but every once in a while I get one. I'm like, I have not seen this before. I got one that was like a dodgeball game. I immediately ran off the edge because I didn't know
Did it
what.
have the exploding balls? I
Yeah,
don't know if you.
yeah.
That is the worst one I've ever played.
Well, I didn't get to really play it because I immediately ran off the edge because I was like, oh, is this an obstacle course? And I ran and there was a hole that I couldn't see and just shoop,
That's unfortunate. Yeah, I'd
final
like
round
because
out.
you like throw the balls at people and then they like explode after what seems to me like a random amount of time. I kept trying to time it and I
Hmm.
could not get the timing down.
Mm.
And I eventually fell off the edge when someone grabbed one and just ran next to me and we both launched off. It's like, why would you do this? But yeah, I mean, that one's really not that terrible. I just had one bad experience with it. Like, I just struggled to figure it out.
Yeah. Uh, I haven't played a whole bunch this week. It's been a busy week for me. We're recording a little early, so I usually have some more time to play before we record. But I also played Fall Guys. Played some more Fall Guys. I played more Spelunky 2, and I don't want to talk about it.
Hmm.
No, I haven't beat it.
So
Don't
I
ask
I
me.
assume that means you haven't beaten it without getting money.
And then I also jumped a little bit in Mario Strikers Battle League. Um,
Oh yeah, where we moved up a division.
oh, did we?
We're now like silver 3 or something.
Oh, cool. Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah, well, the other four clubs in the division grouping with us got 0 points. None of them
Yeah.
played any, so
So we crushed him.
yeah,
Is what it
they
sounds
were
like.
just so intimidated.
Yeah, I was looking at that and looking at the points that are being scored by our rival podcasts, and we definitely have we definitely have a lot, but maybe not as much as some. But we're still doing the best, probably, because I don't know what these rankings even mean. So yeah, that's all we need. That's all there is to it, really. I mean, you just gotta try your best, and you're winning. And also, I need to spend some of the club points on some like swag for our goals and things. So yeah,
Yikes.
we'll be doing that. Be doing that for sure. I don't know how long this game's really going to have legs. It feels like the hype for it came and has already went. I don't see a lot of people talking about it already. Not and I'm at least on our Discord, I'm not seeing a lot of people talk about it. I'm the only one that brings it up, like we gotta win, yeah, yeah, and then it's like that's about it. uh, and I'm trying to think. I think that's just about everything I played this week was just those three. But I had a I had a fun time playing around with novel AI to generate a script for the podcast, and then we both made text to speech versions of our voices, and I put them into a script. So our whole podcast was done by robots, by artificial intelligence that was using our voice, like deep faking our voice essentially, and one that generated the script for the podcast. And what we learned, Micah, is that in podcasts, we say yeah a lot. Apparently,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
In the script it generated. Now it doesn't. It made this up completely at random. We didn't like feed it our podcast and it like made it based off that. It just knew we were a Nintendo podcast and made it off that info. We also want to throw a congratulations to Mike
Oh
in the
yeah.
community who got his
It's
pilot's
a big
license.
milestone.
Big milestone. That's a video game come to life,
Yeah.
as AI Micah would say.
That might be better than anything I've ever said.
We had so much fun with that. Oh man. We'll see it again here in this episode. Don't worry everybody, because we had some very amazing community members come in with some questions that looked very familiar to me. Uh so yeah, that's what I have been playing this week. So I guess we can move on to the next segment of our show. But before we do that, we got to tell you about our sponsor. Support for Nintendo Pals is brought to you by Manscaped.
And since it's ice pack season, you know what that means. We all start to smell like BO and Wario.
Yeah, and Wario. That sounds like a new game.
Yeah.
It's like
They
Game and
could definitely
Wario,
release that as a game. And
BO
it
and
would probably
Wario.
be good.
Well, you can combat your Wario-like stench with products from Manscaped. They carry everything you need to look and smell your best.
That's right. And you can check out manscaped.com for a variety of awesome products, including the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. Oh, nice.
Yeah, it works really good.
And it's surprisingly quiet, at least compared to other trimmers I've had, which
That
were
is true.
very loud.
I'm gonna have to vacuum later. I just get hair all over everything.
I was just waiting for you to the entire face.
Oh, I can do. I can do the entire face. Are you gonna?
I was waiting for you to finish before moving on.
You go ahead. Move on.
The Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver deodorant for Down Under, and the Crop Reviver toner.
Yeah, and if you're looking for other bathroom goods, Manscaped has you covered with a variety of products, including shampoo, lip balm, and deodorant, which I just got because you know what? I've been looking for a new deodorant, and I loved the way that the other Manscaped stuff smelled. So I was like, I'll go on. I used the code Nintendo or not code NPALS NPALS and ordered this, and it smells really good. It doesn't smell like the crop preserver deodorant. It's got a different smell, but it still smells really good. And you know, I stink, so this was my wife was very appreciative that I picked this up.
Yep.
Yeah, my so you too can save big and be the most hygienic version of yourself by using the discount code NPALS at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping.
Yep, that's NPALS at manscaped.com.
There are so few perfect summer days. Don't let a sweaty, stinky Wario stench ruin them. Stay fresh, clean, and smelling good with Manscaped. And with that, I guess we should probably move on to the next part of our show, and let's talk the Nintendo news. All right. In today's Nintendo news, we have Nintendo Direct to talk about. It was announced and given in the time span between last episode and this episode. So we didn't even know about it last episode, and now we've had it announced and it has released. This was a Nintendo Direct Mini partner showcase, which means it focused entirely on third-party games. There was no first-party games. But Mario still snuck his way in there. That sneaky devil. So yeah, Micah, let's I guess go through this. First off, what were your thoughts on the presentation overall?
Well, I was quite disappointed by Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. They did not show Yoshi anywhere. And it kind of seems like Yoshi will not be in this game.
Like he got cut.
So I don't know if I can really support this game anymore.
Oh, something tells me that you still are going to get this game.
I mean, technically,
it is a bit of a bummer. It is a bit of a bummer. I'm surprised they have Rabbid Rosalina, but they don't have regular Rosalina. She's got to be playable, right?
I think they said that the I don't remember the word, like the cast or whatever is complete.
Yeah, but then they put in, well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. I thought this presentation was really good. Yeah, so as far as partner showcases, this is the best one, easily. I feel like it was last episode that I said partner showcases are dead. Then, like, literally this week they announced a new one, because it was like those were only done during like peak pandemic time, right? So it's a little weird they brought it back. Makes me think they had some like contractual obligations to have them in an E3 presentation that didn't happen, and they're like, well, I guess we'll just put them into their own Direct as a thing. And that's what it felt like. It felt like an E3 Direct, just without first party stuff. I mean, the announcements.
So, I mean, besides the missing Yoshi, I thought it was really good. There were a lot of cool things they announced.
Yeah, fantastic pacing, tons of games, and I just really like that. One thing that I am really noticing this year, especially with all of Summer Game Fest stuff going down and all the presentations from other companies, is like I really appreciate a well put together presentation. And what I mean by that is like pacing, information, and like execution of the whole thing. Because I think everybody does a very professional job, and their quality is all really high. But Nintendo just like nails it with having it like go pretty quick. Like the it doesn't lollygag on any announcement. There's no fluff. You don't have people that come up onto a stage and talk for like 15 minutes about nothing.
Yeah, they're just always showing games essentially.
Yeah, you don't have The Rock showing off energy drinks. Like that doesn't happen.
Nothing wrong with that though.
Yeah, that just doesn't happen in a Nintendo presentation. They just have nailed the pacing, and they almost always show gameplay, which is king.
Gameplay
And
is king. Yeah.
yeah, like I don't care to see just a bunch of cinematic trailers for space shooters. I'm sorry. Like that's just not appealing to me. You got to
Yeah.
show
I mean,
gameplay
it
for it
can
to
be
be.
cool, but it has no bearing on if I'm going to purchase a game, essentially.
Mhm. Mhm. So I really liked the presentation overall. I'd say it was a high quality presentation. Uh, Disappointed it wasn't like a full on direct. It would be cool to see some more first party stuff, but we'll see what we get because maybe there will be something still. Maybe we'll get more focused directs like they did for Xenoblade 3.
Yeah, I'm still hoping to get a more first party direct.
Yeah. But for third party, this was pretty killer. So well, started off a little weak in my opinion. Listen, I am so pumped for everybody that is pumped about Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. But have we not seen enough? I feel like they have really marketed this game, and it didn't need another focused like segment. Like that's how they kicked off the show with more Monster Hunter, and showing off Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. And I feel like it's been in like 4 directs at this point, but I know that's not true. I think Sunbreak's only been in like 2 previous, so maybe this is the third. And Rise was in some before that, and I was like, yeah. So that part I could have done without, or maybe shorter than it was, but it was still cool. It looks great. And then we got Near Automata, as how they say it, even though I've always pronounced it Automata.
Yeah, well,
The
I think it's more of a Japanese versus US pronunciation difference. So I think they're both correct,
Both right. Oh,
essentially.
okay. The End of Yorha edition, which supposedly will
I could be
have
wrong. I know nothing about what I'm talking about though. So
this will supposedly have exclusive content for the Switch version of this game, and it is a very highly praised game. Like it looks like a JRPG, but it's actually kind of like a beat 'em up style game, like a hack and slash, but juxtaposed on like a JRPG art style, landscape, and story, I guess. It is a sci-fi that takes place in the future. When it started, it was like giant robot machines have attacked Earth and people have fled to the moon. I'm like, is this like a Metal Gear game? Like that. I as soon as they showed it though, I was like, oh yeah, that's goes to show how much I know about this game or Metal Gear. Yeah. Does this one look interesting to you? This one actually does look interesting to me. I never thought this would come to a Nintendo console, so I actually looked up the like plot
yeah,
of this
you already
game forever
spoiled it
ago.
for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and it's cool. Like it's an interesting concept, interesting story.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably enjoy it, but there's just so many other games a little higher on my list.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes.
Or is it
My
Lorelei?
Lorelei. Mike, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't remember this one.
I remember
Uh,
the name because it was like, well, that's interesting name. Oh wait, I vaguely remember it's more of a like mystery detective-y thing.
is it?
It was kind of black and white, I think, except for all the pink eyes that happened at times. I can't really look things up because my whole computer is freaking out.
Don't want
So
to break
it's
that.
up to you.
It's up to me. Uh,
Oh, it started working again.
oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I'm remembering it now that I see like a single still image. Yeah, this one did look interesting. It looked like it had a cool story to it. Um, so yeah. Next was Super Bomberman R2 D2.
Yep,
Just kidding,
that's
just R2.
exactly what popped into my head too.
Yeah. Super Bomberman R, which was a launch title for the Nintendo Switch, the original game. So it's interesting to see it getting a sequel. Micah, I don't think this game is actually that awesome. I think it's decent,
How
but
dare you?
I think it sold really well because it was the only game available besides Breath of the Wild at launch.
Wow.
It's
No
either that or
respect
one
for
two switch.
Bomberman.
Yeah, no, I mean it's Bomberman. Like that's the thing. That's the thing about Bomberman is it's like it's Bomberman, you know? It's reliable.
What are you what are you saying
Reliably
here?
I'm saying it's reliably okay. It's not my favorite, but it's not bad.
What? Bomberman back in the day was like one of the greats.
Well, let me ask you, Micah, did you pick up Bomberman R?
No, because it's not back in the day.
Oh man, I'm giving it grief. I know we have some people that are very
I
excited.
do enjoy
I
Bomberman though. I
I
think
know
it can
Mute
be a
Dog
great
is
game.
very excited for this one, and I was actually intrigued by the concept of like a 1 versus
Like the
16 player.
siege mode, I can't remember what
Yeah,
they called it. You make
that
your
looked
castle.
that looked pretty fun. Um, so yeah, Super Bomberman R2. Interesting that this is getting a sequel. I wonder how well this will do because, like I said, Super Bomberman R, I feel like had to have sold more copies than it would have because it was one of the only games available. Whereas now the Switch library is packed with games to play. Yeah, you want to? We'll alternate here. You can take the next one.
We'll see. Oh, sweet. I can change tabs.
Oh, sweet.
I don't
Perfect
know why,
timing.
but half the time I can't change tabs right now, and I don't know why. Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection.
Oh yeah. There were a
So
lot
man,
of games in this, but I learned afterwards that that is because they have like essentially red and blue versions, like they for Pokemon. So
the
there are multiple
classic
versions.
Pokemon.
Yeah, so you'll have them both in the collection. So I don't think it's as many games as was shown really, but the options are there. And it has the whole Battle Network collection. And oh, Monkey Thunder in chat is saying that was his favorite announcement from the show. Love Battle Network when he was younger. I know our good friend Third Strongest Mole is a huge fan of the Battle Network games, and they use a very interesting battle system, which is kind of like a grid based like rhythm. I don't really know how to describe it. You just got to go look at it, but it looks very fun. Next up is Pac-Man World Repack, and I don't know how I feel about this one, honestly. It doesn't look bad. Looks pretty good.
What
Uh,
they should have remade was Pac-Man 2 New Adventures. At least I think that's the game I'm thinking about. That game
did
was awesome.
Pac-Man have a family in that game? Because he does in this game. Like Pac-Man's family has been with Miss Pac-Man and the Pac children.
I remember essentially nothing about that game except that he gets like a pretty sure there's like a paper airplane that gets stuck in a tree or something. And they're mine carts. Every good classic game has to have a mine cart
That's
section.
true. If it
And you
doesn't have a
speed up and it
minecart,
says faster, faster.
if it doesn't have a minecart, it's not a real classic. That's
Exactly.
you heard it here first. Yeah, this one looks good. I think the remaster looks nice. I don't know what this is a port from, but looks looks pretty good. Pac-Man World Repack.
Yeah. Although at one point it kind of looked like there was just Sonic in the game as Pac Man spun up and launched over a ramp, up a ramp to go over a gap. It was very Sonic.
In a good way or a bad way? I mean, because being compared to Sonic isn't always a good thing.
In a neutral way.
I mean, speaking of, when did they? Yeah, we'll get to that. Sonic was shown off in this presentation as well. But next presentation, next announcement.
Blanc.
Blanc. This one is about a deer
I
and
was
a
like trying
wolf
to remember if
cub.
it was the deer and the wolf. Yeah.
It's the fox and the hound, but in black and white, artistic style, and
I
no
think they said
talking.
no dialogue.
Yeah, no dialogue, and it has online co-op, which is pretty cool.
That's kind of like the first hour of Wally.
Yeah. Yep. So that one looks really pretty and very it looks like it's gonna be like a nice cozy indie game to play. And next we have Return to Monkey Island. Mike, do you know much about the Monkey Island series?
Nope.
I know that it is really well liked by those that have played them, but I have never played a Monkey Island game. It's a point and click adventure game where supposedly you win sword fights by insulting your enemy the best. So, I
That
mean,
sounds
that
like my kind of game.
I was gonna say like that concept alone has me sold. I think this will be one that I will check out. I am not typically a point and click adventure game player in the modern era, but when I was a kid, man, those were the jam. Pajama Sam, Freddy
Oh
Fish,
yeah.
Putt Putt.
Putt putt, yeah. And I would
So
always mow the lawn way too much for some reason.
yeah. I always play the cheese and crackers mini game in Pajama Sam, which is tic tac toe.
I was like, I don't even remember that.
Yep.
Plus, there's that Spy Fox one
Oh yeah. Those were why did everybody play those when
because they
we
were
were kids?
incredible, and it had lard on a stick in it.
That sounds kind of horrifying.
It was a little gross.
So I am intrigued. So it like plays a little bit to the nostalgia that I have for those point and click adventure games, but also just the concept and the fact that the series is so well liked by people. Apparently has a really good sense of humor, very excellent writing. So that's coming. Return to Monkey Island. And then next
And,
game, such a disappointment for real.
oh, so disappointing.
For
Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Although, to be fair, besides the Yoshi disappointment, it did look pretty good. And
exceptionally good. Yeah.
they didn't
Yeah.
show too much of it, but then they had a little more information in a separate video
Yeah, we'll talk about that
afterwards.
one. Yeah, we'll talk about that one after we finish up the direct here. So we essentially got like a little teaser, and Brian in our community was like, "That didn't look that good to me," but then he watched the Ubisoft one and was like, "Oh yeah, this actually looks really good," and I agree with that. I think the Ubisoft presentation showed the game better than the direct did, which is weird. It wasn't bad. I didn't think it looked bad, but I thought
Yeah,
the
I mean
Ubisoft
they just
presentation.
mostly didn't give it much time, so they
Mm,
couldn't get into anything too deep or show off too much.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry. Accessing my AI, my inner AI. Um, next was Little Noah, Scion of Paradise, and I mean, I know nothing about this. Is this a game that I don't know. This one just like kind of blew by for me. I was like, okay. So that's that's all I have to say about
yep.
that one. Then there was Railgrade,
Just
which
the train
yeah,
management.
apparently was an Epic Game Store exclusive. I may be completely making that up. But coming to the Switch, and it looks cool. Not my thing, but if you like trains, there you go.
That was right up your alley.
Next, take the
And they
next one.
showed RPG Time: The Legend of Right.
What did you think of this one? I thought this one actually looked pretty cool. It's the one where it's like
Ye-
the kid drawing in his notebook, the RPG, and you like turn the
Oh yeah,
page.
that's right.
It's like,
Yeah, that one did seem cool.
yeah, I liked that one. That's one I'll keep an eye on. And then it showed Sonic Frontiers. And I got to say, out of all the trailers for Sonic Frontiers that I've seen, this is the best one so far. This is the first one that I've been like, this looks done. The other ones I just got like I got vibes where I'm like, I don't know if this is like it looks like it's probably not going to be all that awesome, but this one looks pretty cool. I did point out in the presentation all of the enemies in this game really remind me of Subspace Emissary. They feel like Subspace Emissary enemies and bosses. These like kind of generic looking fantasy sci-fi monsters.
Who knows? Maybe at the end we'll find out it's actually a sequel,
It's Subspace
and
Emissary too.
all the Smash Bros. Characters will come in as well.
Oh, that would be sweet. That would be super cool.
Then they showed off Disney Dreamlight Valley, that's a day one for you, isn't it?
I guess. Like, I don't know how to feel about this one. I'll be honest. It looks cool, but it's free to play. So yeah, I'll definitely be checking it out, and I'll probably check it out day one. I know my kids will really think this is cool, but it's supposedly like Animal Crossing Stardew Valley but with Disney characters. And in a surprise twist, Buzz Lightyear is actually to scale, and that is a good decision. You saw that in
Oh,
the
really?
trailers.
I must have missed that part.
So the very end, it shows him running around. He's like, and he's a little toy. Like, yeah, that's how it should be.
That's great.
It'll be interesting. You're gonna make your own character. I like I like doing that. You can take pictures with Disney characters. I don't know.
Yeah,
Looks
it's
fun.
like a chill, relaxing game that is probably be really good if you're a big fan of Disney.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Which
they
I.
showed off Live Alive
Oh yes, yes. And the
with
big
demos, which I keep forgetting about. I haven't
th-
even tried it yet, and that's what I was
the
excited for.
that was the big thing for me. It's like, oh yes, they gave it a demo. That needed to happen, I think, because that will
It's a hard
really.
game to explain.
I hope that it sells people on the game a bit more. I'm interested. I watched community member Hambone Johnny. He streamed it. I watched him play the like Japan. I don't remember what time period it is, but he plays like the teacher looking for students to take on his legacy. He's like a kung fu master, and the story seemed interesting. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Live Alive. Still, I'm a little bit on the fence. So I'll give the demo a shot. And then next we've got Doraemon Story of Seasons, Friends of the Great Kingdom. And this looks like just Doraemon Story of Seasons again.
But with friends.
I mean, is this not this? It looks identical to the last game. I don't quite. I don't know. I don't understand this. This suit. Like, what is Doraemon? Like,
It's a
do you know?
farming sim game,
No, but
obviously.
you see this like world where all the characters are like human, and then you got this like cat creature thing as like the main character with the kid. I don't know. I'm probably like this is probably a thing, but I just don't know what it is. I don't know what it means or what it's
This is when
supposed to
we
be.
find out we have many fans of these games in our Discord.
You guys don't know what Doraemon is? How dare you? Unsubbed, unfollow, revoking my 5 stars. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Yeah, so that's how I feel about that game. I'm not getting it.
Yeah, I also have no plans.
Is it my turn to read the next game? Minecraft
It
Legends.
could be, or it could be that I just forgot.
Minecraft Legends is a new game in the it's an up and coming series called Minecraft, if you've heard of that.
Okay.
And this looks to be like you're a character that can like lead armies to fight, kind of real-time strategy like, but you control your single character to do the real-time strategy stuff, and that's interesting. I I personally was not a huge fan of Minecraft Dungeons, but I know a lot of people really liked that game. This looks to be better than Minecraft Dungeons to me. Just the premise and the style of gameplay looks more interesting. I don't know. Are you interested in that one, Micah?
Uh, Mildly so.
Mildly so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I feel like I'm just almost burned out a little bit on Minecraft. There's just so much now.
So I've.
But they keep like shaking it up in these like spin-off games though,
Mhm.
which I do like.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. I was I've been listening to other podcasters talk about the presentation, and anytime they talk about Minecraft Legends, everybody's like, I don't really understand Minecraft. And I think maybe maybe it's because I played it originally, but I feel like Minecraft is a game everybody has to try. Like it is like the definitive open world crafting game. And if you are turned away from it because of the blocky art style, I mean that's sort of part like I that's sort of part of what it is. like like that the reason it is that way is because originally to save on resources, and then they turned it into an art style. I mean, how many games classic games have done that exact same thing. I mean, we talk about Wind Waker all the time on the show and how it's aged so well because it took a very artistic art direction, and Minecraft I'd say has done the same. What was originally a limitation to make sure the worlds could be big and huge has been turned into an art style that resonates with a lot of people. Yeah, I think it's still got this stigma around it, like it's a baby game, and I don't quite get that because the game's been out for like 10 plus years at this
It's
point.
been out forever,
I
seems
mean,
like.
I mean, I was playing this game in high school, and that feels like that was forever ago. I just I like I that I'm pretty that was forever ago.
Yeah, I mean at least 10 years.
um yeah, and I just don't get it. I don't think this game should be looked at as a baby game. I don't quite get that. I just
Yeah,
doesn't make sense to me.
just try and figure out how all that redstone stuff works and then
Yeah.
call it a baby game.
Well, here's the thing. Like I don't play Minecraft. I did back when, back before they even had like hunger in it, like that back in my day. Um, but we burnt ourselves out on it like really bad because we played that one time for like 24 hours straight, and I think after that I just couldn't do it anymore. I was like, nah, and I have never been able to get back into it to the extent. But I think it's a fantastic game. Just don't burn yourself out on it. Just like any game. I mean, you can do that with anything.
Yeah.
Except for Breath of the Wild, the greatest game ever made. I'll never burn myself out on that. I can play that 24 hours straight, easy. Still be having a good time.
We
Might
should
need a
probably
little
test
break.
that for upcoming 24-hour stream.
Might need a
I'll just
little break.
chill in the background, pop in every once in a while to watch you playing for 24 hours.
Third Strongest Will says, I've never played Minecraft, but I'm burnt out on it through exposure. Okay, I can see that. That's fair. I mean, it like exploded multiple times in the like YouTuber scene, and definitely among kids for that. I don't know, but I don't feel like that's the fault of the game. The
No,
thing
yeah.
is, like the game is Legos, guys. Like this is the digital version of Legos, and everybody loves Legos. So that's that's why it's popular, and that's why it isn't going away because you can build whatever you want. All right, that's enough of my rant on Minecraft. Why you should play Minecraft? stop stop being anti blockist.
Hmm,
Is that a thing?
I don't think
Prob-
so.
Hopefully that's not something else. I like using a word that
Something else
should not
really
be.
offensive.
Yes, that's really bad. Let's just move on.
Then they showed off some Dragon Quest treasures.
And that follows characters from Dragon Quest 11 Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch. I think that's the full title. It's from Dragon Quest 11 characters, and you do something with collecting treasure. N. Johnson in our chat was talking earlier about how he's very excited for that. Loved Dragon Quest Builders 2 and hope that it's kind of the same. I don't think
Uh,
it's following the Builders formula, but it kind of gives those vibes with the art style.
Yeah, and it has an iconic dragon statue. I remember that. Little dragon statue popped up and it said iconic. It was like a
Iconic.
treasure you could sell for a lot or something like that.
I didn't realize this part of the presentation was fairly long. Like I'm looking at the YouTube video right now so I can see how it's segmented. This one got a lot of screen time. It went by pretty quick. They paced that really well. Because even though this is a game I'm not particularly interested in, I still enjoyed the trailer. So yeah, there you go. Something for the Dragon Quest fans out there. Although I think there were a lot of people that were hoping for that Dragon Quest game that's exclusive to Japan on the Switch. It was the one that was an MMO, and then they made it a single player game. And they're like, release in Japan only. Like, why not release that here? I don't know. They don't want to pay for the localization. Apparently, there's not enough Dragon Quest fans to buy. Like, that's
They're just hoping
ridiculous.
for another Mother 3 situation 10 years down the line.
Where people beg for it,
Yeah, and then they just don't do it.
and then they just don't do it. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. So then we jump into the montage, and in the montage, we got looks at Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. So Nintendo did sneak some first party stuff in here, y'all. And they were like, yep. And then, hey, reminder, No Man's Sky, that's coming in October, physical edition. I'm pretty excited for that one, actually. Are you planning on picking that one up, Micah? We should pick that up and play multiplayer.
How does the multiplayer work?
Um, I believe that you just like can join each other's worlds and just play together in open world
Oh, I thought you
space.
couldn't find other people like
That
that.
was no, that was when the game first launched.
Oh, they've changed things though.
Yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
do you not
I
know the
know they've
story?
changed a lot since it came
Wait.
out, but I wasn't sure that was one of the things.
Yeah, so you do know the story of No Man's Sky. For those listening that maybe don't know the story of No Man's Sky, it was an extremely hyped up game. Super like people were stoked for it. They're like, yeah, it's going to be the open world space exploration game of our dreams. And then it launched and it was not that by far. A lot of the features that were touted and advertised were not quite there. There was supposed to they they never really nailed down that they were going to do multiplayer, and then people found the exact same planet and same spot, and they couldn't
There's
find
no
each
one
other.
there.
There's no one there. Yeah, stuff like that. Well, No Man's Sky has the greatest comeback story ever because it went
The
from being
greatest redemption arc in all of video game
it went from
history.
being one of the like absolutely most hated on things at launch and release window to coming back and just slowly whittling away, adding the things they wanted to add, working on it. I think it was just a
It's just a little too
product
ambitious.
is a product of too much marketing that was not exactly accurate.
They
And
weren't on the same page.
it wasn't the fault of the developers exactly, but people, it can be contested, I think. But yeah, and so they just kept plugging away, even after all the like the any other company I think would have just like completely tanked and closed things down and left, but they just kept working at it, and this game is really fully featured at this point. So I think now is a good time to get it. It's at its peak for sure. and it's now not only a serviceable game, it's very good from what I hear and have read and seen. I'm excited for this one. I think I would be less excited if I was one of the people that got it at launch. But there you go. There was a point where it was like $5. You could buy the game for like $5.
So that was the time to get it.
That was the time to get it, yeah. But
And
who
then
would have
not play
thought?
it for a year or two until
Yeah,
it's
who would
really
have
good.
thought? Who would have thought, though? I mean, the game came out. I want to say like 5 years ago. Maybe longer than that. So originally. So yeah, they've just been working on it, giving it them updates. Yeah. So No Man's Sky. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. A Plague Tale Requiem, the cloud version, got shown that again, and yeah, that's definitely going to be a cloud version. That's a lot of rats. Captain Velvet Meteor, The Jump Plus Dimensions. You fight a monster called Dogzilla.
I think this game has the best title of any other game in the Direct.
Yeah. And then we get to see the Portal Companion Cube Collection. Was that what it's called? The Portal Collection.
This Portal Companion Collection, I think.
Companion Collection. And it includes Portals 1 and 2 with online multiplayer for Portal 2. Micah, have you played through both of these games all the way?
Yep.
I
Back
haven't.
in the day.
I played quite a bit of Portal 2. I didn't play the original. And I played a good chunk of the multiplayer with you and our buddy Lincoln. And it's really good. It is a very good game. Definitely worth a pickup even now. So if you haven't played it before, it's one of those games that you kind of just owe it to yourself to pick up and get, because it's probably one of the greatest games ever made. And I don't think that's like a stretch of the imagination by any means. And you look at it and you're like, I don't want to play like a first person shooter. It's a puzzle game. It's an adventure puzzle game that's just got really good writing.
Yeah.
Very funny.
First person puzzler.
First person puzzler. All right. You want to take the next announcement?
Oh yeah, Harvest Stella.
I have seen a lot of people talking like super positive for this one. I will admit, guys, my first reaction was like, oh boy, another farm sim. Because it like just shows them doing the farming, on their like grid farm. And I was like, but then it shows like the RPG side of it, and it looks like Final Fantasy, and the world looks like really interesting and expansive. And then they show this thing that's like it's called Quietus, the season of death. Yeah. And it was like, what is happening right now? It's like it was just like so wild, like such a turn for what I thought was going to be like this happy farm sim fantasy game. Has this whole weather thing that is trying to kill everyone. So yeah, it seems like it'll be an interesting one and have an interesting story. I don't know, but I can't help but feel like it looks slightly generic fantasy game looking, but it looks ambitious for what it is. Is this a Square game? Yes, Square Enix.
It looks like it.
Yeah. Yep. So saw a lot of hype for this one. Next games announced. They finally did it. This was the closer. Persona coming to Switch. Now, I have heard nothing but amazing things about the Persona series, but I have never played anything Persona at all other than Joker in Smash Bros. So 5 years later, the game that one guy from Smash Bros. Finally got a game.
Oh yeah, didn't think it'd ever happen.
This is a game like that goes up on my board next to Xenoblade Chronicles and Fire Emblem, where I'm like, 120 hours? I don't know if I have the time.
Yeah,
But I
it's
know
like I
Persona.
don't want to play any of them because I don't want to have to then start playing all the games in this series.
Yeah, well,
I got enough games already.
I think Persona 5 is considered like potentially like the greatest modern RPG. And I mean, it is very, very highly praised.
But is it as good as Golden Sun?
I don't know. I haven't played it, as I said. So
Have
I
you
haven't played. I
also
haven't
not
played.
played
I haven't
Golden
played
Sun?
Golden Sun. Yeah.
So essentially, in a way, you kind of are qualified to compare them.
If I had to compare the two, I'd say I've heard more about Persona than I've heard about Golden Sun.
How dare you?
That doesn't mean it's good. I've just heard more.
After all the
Yeah.
times I've mentioned Golden Sun to you, I'm
Well, I mean,
disappointed.
besides from you, I mean, I get to hear about Golden Sun from you pretty much every day. But yeah,
As you should.
in chat here, we got Monkey Touch says Persona 5 is so good. It's long, but it's well worth it. I had a coworker that was like, you should definitely play Persona 5. Like lots of people that really recommended it. It's also don't be deceived by the cartoony / slightly anime-esque art style. It is not family friendly. It definitely deals with some very dark themes. So don't get that one for your kids. And that's it. That's it for the Nintendo Direct partner presentation. And like we just went through, there were a lot of games. A lot of games on there. Oh, breaking news right now. Monkey Thunder in the chat that Nintendo just dropped news of new Genesis games coming to Nintendo Switch Online. So, what games are we getting? It looks like it will be a Mega Man game, Zero Wing. I'm going through the list here really quick. Mega Man: The Wily Wars, and Target Earth. So those games will be coming over. I've heard good things about Mega Man: The Wily Wars. That's cool. I'll definitely check them out. I play pretty much everything that comes to NSO at least once. It's a nice
usually
like
only once.
it's a nice like retro sampler, you know. And then every once in a while you get something in there. You're like, "Ooh, this is pretty good. Could I get a whole meal
Like
of this?"
Logic Bomb.
I was
That
thinking
was one of the random games I actually played all the way through.
I was thinking like Gunstar Heroes.
Oh yeah, that one was
It's like,
super good.
oh. So yeah, there you go. Wily Wars. Yeah. Next and last news item we're going to be covering for tonight. Micah, you want to take this one?
Yeah, Ubisoft.
I've heard both. I think it's
I used to say
I think it's
I'd have to think about it. I used to say Ubisoft, but then they said Ubisoft in the direct. And now I just don't know anymore. I mean, it must be Ubisoft then.
Let's call it Ubisoft.
I like it. Or
Ubisoft.
Ub is soft. You pronounce the S twice.
Ub is soft.
I don't know what Ubisoft is. Just one of those names I have to think about a second before I try and say. But they showed some more Mario and Rabbids gameplay.
Yeah, and
showing off not any more Yoshi, which still disappointed.
As you should be. But I mean, The game looks really good. It's interesting that they have foregone the grid-based system, and it's like a circle that you can move within, and then from there, like you get
Yeah, because I
to
think in the first one you had like a certain amount you could move. So if you moved one way and then moved back, you'd run out of movement. I don't remember if that's actually accurate, but now it sounds like you can just move however much you want within your range.
yeah, and they introduced a new character, which I was pretty hyped about this. I was not expecting Bowser to be a playable
Bowser, oh yeah.
character. And
Yeah,
they
that was
talked
cool.
about
It makes up a teensy bit for Yoshi being missing, but
yeah, they talked about the
Edge, the
oh
other
yeah, Edge.
character,
Yeah. That I don't quite get that one.
it's practically it makes me think of Sora just a teensy bit. Her blade seems weird and just makes me think of the Keyblades.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking like, it's
Curso?
not a Nintendo character at all. Like what it's not based off of anything Nintendo. So I guess just
Is it just a rabid creation?
I guess so. But it's like why have that in a Mario crossover game? I don't I don't quite get that.
I did like the bob bombs they had that looked like you could hit and then like throw at people and they explode.
Yeah. Yeah, and it looked like you fought like actual Goombas, and then the new enemies are like kind of shy guy rabbit looking things. Um, and then they also had Shinya Takashi from Nintendo make a guest appearance here to say, "Hey, this is Mario and Rabbids," and then he just kind of showed it again.
Yeah,
I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Thanks for your guest appearance." I don't know why. He's like he's the new direct presenter. So I guess they were like, yeah, we'll have him come in and and talk. And the game is coming out this year. I thought it was going to be delayed. I'll be honest. I was starting to get into the camp of like they haven't really talked about it a lot. So yeah, 20th of October, and pre-orders are available for that now.
although I'll
This,
probably be waiting a year and
yep,
hopefully
yeah.
get for $20 with gold collection, like I did the first one.
I I think that this is a problem, man. That Ubisoft discounts their games so steep a year after that, like, why would you buy it day one? I don't. I mean, I see like being really excited for and wanting to play it, but I just like
I mean,
it's
if
gonna
it
go
was
on
Metroid
sale.
Prime 4, I would buy that knowing it would drop to $20 after a year. I'd buy that day one still.
Yeah, but the thing is it's Ubisoft games. None of them are that that caliber.
Wow.
Shots fired. I'm sorry, but nothing there appeals to me enough to be like, I'll buy this day one. Mario and Rabbids is certainly not one of those games that I'm like, I gotta get this immediately. I think
Wow.
it's a good game. Um, and
Have you played the first one?
mhm, not all the way through. I played it on someone else's console enough to know that I didn't need to get it for myself because I was like, I didn't think it was for me. I
Wow.
didn't think it was bad. I thought it was really fun, but
Just not fun enough to play.
just not fun enough to finish. This though looks really good to me for some reason. I don't know why. And now all of a sudden I'm like, I want in on the sparks of hope, sparks of hype, as we say here.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's going to mostly be more of the same, but with improvements,
yeah.
which is essentially how sequels work, I guess.
It sounds just like it. Yeah,
At least how sequels should hopefully work.
and that will do it for the news portion of the episode. Micah, there was a lot of news this week with the little direct mini partner showcase. How are you feeling about the possibility of a summer direct? I think this is basically the nail in the coffin. That's how I feel about it.
I mean, we still got like 2.5 months left of summer.
You think they'll do a big presentation after doing the third party one? Like
They could do a
August?
relatively big presentation, I think.
All right. So Mike is still holding out hope. That's what
I
I'm
gotta
hearing.
get, and it will be 40 minutes of Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, it'll be a Metroid Prime 4 focused direct. Well, here's the thing. We've got some rumors to talk about. And some of these both of these rumors are supposedly coming this year, so we need a presentation. So let's go check on the rumor Pikmin over at the rumor mill. Alrighty. So the rumor Pikmin have brought us 2 games that are supposedly coming this year. One from this Pikmin calling himself Jeff Grubb says that Metroid Prime 1 remake is supposedly coming holiday season this year.
Which I'll
He
believe when I see it.
heard from good sources. Like, what does that mean, Pikmin Grub? I don't understand.
And what does remake mean in this situation?
It's a full-fledged remake from what
Full
he
on
was talking about.
100%, not just HDified?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ground up assets?
Yeah. I too am a believe it when I see it kind
We've
of
just been
person on
hearing
this one.
about it for too long.
Yeah, at the same time, we've been hearing about it for so long that can't we just will it into existence like the Metroid fans all seem to think?
Well, that's probably
What about
what happened. If it is true, that's probably what happened. The Nintendo heard all these like rumors about it and they're like, wow, it's actually a really good idea. We should do that.
I don't know though, because I mean Metroid Prime 1 was the best selling game in the series prior to Dread, right? So
I believe so.
it makes sense to revisit that one. But I feel like putting that focus into Prime 4 would be better than remaking 1. But then again, what has Retro Studios been working on for like prior to Metroid Prime 4? Like what were they working on? There had to be a project in the works. They were just kind of just all sitting there waiting until because they weren't even supposed to get the Metroid Prime 4 game. That was going to Bandai Namco. And then they were like, "You guys didn't do a good job. We'll give it back to Retro."
Yeah,
So
which I feel like is not really something you hear about Bandai Namco very often.
no, well they were like pivotal in Smash Bros. The last 2 Smash Bros games. So it's not like they're a bad studio. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there. Metroid Prime is a mystery. And
Yep, and over 1,200 days since we've heard anything.
and only 1,200 more to go.
Hopefully,
So
like 12 more to go.
yeah, that would be nice. So I'm hopeful that this rumor is true, just because it would be fun to play a modernized Metroid Prime 1.
Yeah, you could finally play it all
Yeah,
the way through.
yeah. And then next, there are a lot of rumors circulating, probably because this one, you could guess pretty easily. Bayonetta 3 coming towards the end of October. That is what the rumors are saying. Like just like we guessed when we were
Yeah,
talking about predictions.
which makes me think it's not coming at the end of October.
But it's supposed to come this year, and that's really the only spot that's available that isn't going to be stepping on other games.
Well, now the Sparks of Hope coming out the 20th, right?
Oh yeah, it sparks. So is what's happening? But is Bayonetta going to be like a shadow drop at like a September presentation or something? I don't know. There's too many games
Or
coming out.
it's been so long, maybe it's delayed. 2023, here it comes.
Yeah, but if I recall, there were people on the team saying like, "Yeah, it's done, it's ready." I don't know why Nintendo's why they're waiting to release it. So I don't know what that means, but Sorry, Bayonetta fans. Hopefully this is real. It makes sense to come in October. It's like you play as a witch. It's Halloween time. Like
I
get
don't
that
know if
Halloween
that's
vibe.
necessarily the best reason to release a game in October.
It just is an October vibe game. That's what I'm saying. I think it makes sense. What do you think it
From
doesn't
now
mean
on,
it's the
every
best reason?
game that has a witch in it, you're releasing in October.
Listen,
You miss your window, you got to wait that whole year to release that
it's not
game.
coming till 2023. October 2023, Bayonetta 3. Yeah. Yeah. And that's it for the rumor mill, Micah. So, what do you say we move on over to the community corner? And in today's community corner, we've got a lot of questions and topics to discuss. So let's just dive right in. You can take it here. The first question. Oh, I got you right in the middle of a
Yawning.
yawn. Oh, oof. My bad.
Yeah, Mute Dog asks, have either of you two ever rage quit on a game, or do you tough it out till the very end?
Um, do you have an answer for this? I'm trying to think. I know that I have raged on a game to the point of like not playing anymore.
I don't know if I've ever like rage quit and then never came back to it,
Yeah,
because
that's the thing. It's like I usually will then come back to it at some point.
it's
But
always Fortnite every time I get off from playing. I'm
yeah.
like, I'm never playing this again with my 7 frames and my super laggy delayed internet. But it has been like I've played it like once in the last 3 months, essentially.
Yeah. So I have raged on games. Spelunky. I've definitely raged on Spelunky. One of my favorite games ever. And
When
I've
that
raged.
flying gold comes from off screen.
Ah. Yeah, I've just been like, I'm done. I'm done. And I put it
The
down, but
worst
then I
is
come
in
back
that
to it.
like no gold run or money run is when you like you just happen to glance and see you have money and you don't know when it happened. And you're like
Yeah.
getting pretty close to
Yeah.
the end. You're like, I'm doing pretty
Yeah.
good. What,
And then you're like,
100? When did that happen?
well, and if it's only, and it's usually less than 1,000, and it means you picked up a flippin' gold pebble, like the ones that are so small that it's like hard to see.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, the worst. But tough it out to the very end. I mean, typically, if I'm going to finish a game, I will. I'm gonna tough it out. But I don't finish a lot of games, and it's not because I'm rage quitting them. It's just because I don't have time, and and it just doesn't hold my interest. So in those cases, I wouldn't say rage quit, but more of a I got bored with it and stopped.
Yeah. Like kind of the closest to me would be Jump King, I think. I managed to tough it out to the end of rescuing that one babe, but I definitely decided I'm not even going to try and rescue the next one.
I mean, who needs more than one babe, right? Like,
Well, at that point I had two, which is one
oh,
too many.
oh yeah. I mean, yeah. So you're like,
And that game is so brutal. The expansion thing. You're like jumping through the water and it's just so slow.
yeah,
Everything takes at least twice as long.
yeah.
So your mistakes are just that much worse. And for they decide to make it that when you miss a jump, you fall for like 7.5 days.
There you go.
That was a brutal
I think
game.
that's a good answer for that question. Jump King. Jump King is that kind of game. Next question comes from Spider Shan. Question for the show. Can't remember if you've answered this before. But if you have, feel free to skip. I'm pretty sure we have, but
But
it's
we're
time
gonna
to
do
it's
it
oh,
anyways.
we're gonna answer it again. Do you snack when you game? And what's your favorite snack while gaming? It's been a long time since we answered this question, so I don't remember what my answer was. So it's time for an update. Do I snack while gaming? Yes, I do. I don't think you do.
I
You don't.
generally don't.
You don't.
Sometimes I'll get a fruit snack as I'm about to start gaming, and I'll eat that while starting up. Because you got to get those sugars and things to make sure your reflexes are top notch.
Yeah, that little edge to get you over the
Exactly the edge.
win in Smash Bros. It's like, yeah, I shout out to Mott's Gummy Snacks uh, for for that win. I just am a snacker all the time. I like to snack, and I like to snack on crunchy things. So I tend to go for like chip type stuff.
I'm like the opposite. I'm not a big fan of chips.
Yeah, chip type stuff. Not when I say chips like stuff. I have been having a lot of
Like
these things.
trail
They're called
mix kinds of things as well.
yeah, like and crisps. They're like cheese snack things. Oh, Cheez-Its. That's I can go to town on Cheez-Its. Pretzels.
Yeah, and then hopefully get hit by a bus.
Wow, that's rude. Just because I like cheese, I'm doing you a favor. I'm removing
Oh no,
cheese
I'm
from the
saying
world.
going to town on Cheez-Its. Essentially, eating Cheez-Its makes you feel like going to town and getting hit by a bus. Not saying I want
Oh,
that to
oh,
happen to you.
oh. I see. I see. I was for a second there. I was like, wow, that is a bold thing to wish death upon someone for liking
I didn't say
cheese.
die, just get hit by a bus.
Oh.
You could survive.
Um, I also am a big fan of popcorn, and I have a popcorn popper, and I'll pop my own popcorn, and then season it with fancy seasonings and lots of butter.
Yeah, yeah. I've had this bag for like 2.5 months, so I do occasionally snack on it while playing. But yeah, just a big old bag of popcorn. Like, yeah, that's essentially like it. That and sometimes frozen blueberry Eggo waffles.
Yeah, that's weird.
Uh, it's called having taste, and they are delicious. They're like incredible popsicles if you don't want something sugary.
I've been really into these lately. They're Parm Crisps snack mix, and it's essentially a trail mix, but it has those cheese crackers I was talking about in it, which are just essentially a baked cheese circle. Now, you might not like it, but there's not a ton of those cheese circle things in here. And then
But the dust gets everywhere.
when I am done with the cheese circle portion, it's just trail mix, and it's kind of plain. So what I've been doing is popping popcorn, buttering it up, throwing it in this bag, shaking it all together, and I get a nice little trail mix with popcorn base. Ooh, that's good. So there you go. That's what I've been into, like, because I'm trying to eat like chips are not good for you. Chips are terrible for you. Super high in sodium. So I'm trying to eat like healthier, crunchy things, which then means like nuts, fruits. Um, those little cheese squares are very good because they're just essentially cheese, so, which isn't like bad, but not super healthy. It's not.
Yeah,
It's
I
not as
mean,
bad as like chips because they're extremely low carb, high protein. Uh, yeah.
but they're also gross, so you have to deal with that.
I like them. Hey, let me enjoy my cheese. It's so good for me. It doesn't have to be good for you. Don't have to like it. I can still enjoy it. Just like Ocarina of Time.
Are you saying you don't enjoy Ocarina of Time?
No, I'm saying I enjoy it. You don't have to like it. It's
Oh, okay.
exactly
Just
the
making
same.
sure.
Yeah, get out of here. You try it. We do have AI. I can make you say you
Yeah,
like Ocarina of
everyone know
Time.
that's a lie. You have agreed on recording that Wind Waker is better than Ocarina of Time,
It
though.
was a slip
We
of the
have
tongue.
proof.
It was a slip of the tongue, and you
A
know it.
Freudian slip of the tongue.
Next question. You can take the next one, Micah.
Have you guys seen the Cuphead show? If so, what are your thoughts? If not, would you be interested in seeing it?
So it's from Mute Dog.
Oh, yeah. Forgot to mention who asked.
Have you seen this show? I have not.
I technically have. I
Oh,
saw it on
okay.
Netflix and I was like, huh, I've been kind of interested in playing that game. I should watch it. And then I watched literally like 20 seconds of it and something came up, and then I just forgot to ever watch it again.
What did you think of it for the
It didn't seem particularly my kind of show, but I mean, granted, I saw very little of it before I got distracted.
Okay, well, what do you mean by that? Because I know that you are actually a big fan of kind of the whimsical cartoons, like SpongeBob. You're a big fan of Adventure Time.
Yeah, well, SpongeBob and especially Adventure Time has a complex and deep backstory.
Of
I'll have
course,
you know.
of course.
SpongeBob, he's like really trying to get his driver's license, you know? A very adult sort of storyline, I would say.
But
I
this
but
didn't
it
this
see
didn't deliver on that. That's
it
what I
was
was.
more a giving the more kind of vibe of like Looney Tunes whimsical cartooniness, which I'm not quite as into. But I have been meaning to actually give it a watch to see.
That would make sense because it's kind of based on that era of cartoons.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Next question here we have. I'm filling it in because we missed a couple questions in our notes here. From Solo Something says, with Independence Day holiday this week, which of the Bowser clan slash family do you think would be most likely to break off and go independent?
I remember reading that question and I somehow missed it when I put
Be
them in the
it
notes.
go good or stay bad and just be their own clan. So which which Bowser offspring will declare independence?
I mean, I feel like Bowser Jr. is the one that first comes to mind, and not because I don't remember the other names of his children slash clan, but I feel like he kind of tries that in Mario Sunshine.
I mean, kind of.
It seems to ruin everything, if I remember correctly. It's been so long.
I thought he was working with Bowser the whole time. He was just doing it.
Was he?
Was that? Yeah, I thought because at the very end, Bowser's there.
Well, yeah, because he has to try and
Spoilers.
clean up his mess.
um,
I don't. I mean, you would know better. You played way more recently than I have.
oh, he kidnaps Peach, and then Bowser has a voice actor that is not the current voice actor. That's like, "Rah, rah, rah," but actually talks, and he's like, Junior, I gotta confess to you that and then
I'm
Bowser
not
Jr.
quite
goes,
sure what
"Don't
kind of
worry,
accent that is, but
it was pretty close to what it actually sounds like." Um, Bowser Jr. goes, "Don't worry, Dad. I know Peach isn't actually my mom."
oh yeah,
And like, so like the whole time, Bowser thought he was kidnapping Peach because he thought Peach was his mom. And then he's like, "No, I learned that Peach is not my mom." Don't know what gave it away. But me, I'm gonna say either Wendy Koopa
oh,
because she is the only female Koopaling. So she's gonna go independent because she's a strong, independent woman, and that will lead her own clan of like. She's gonna team up with Boom Boom, and the other like and all the Goombets. This is maybe getting to be a bit like sexist, so
yeah.
probably
You
shouldn't.
just so
That was
she's
not
gonna
my
break
intent.
off because she's a woman, and she's only going to recruit women to her team.
It was not what I meant.
Interesting.
That's not where
And
I
Boom
meant to
Boom.
go with that.
Boom Boom's not female, are they?
Isn't Boom Boom the which? Wait, which one? the one that throws the ninja stars. Is that not Boom Boom? Is that not her name? Maybe I'm mixing them up. Anyways, no, that's not where I was. Pom Pom. Thank you, Mute Dog.
Oh, okay, I was like
Boom
Boom Boom's
Boom's
from
Boom Boom's the male
Mario
equivalent.
Strikers.
Yeah. Pom Pom. Gosh. So what the heck is even the deal with Boom Boom and Pom Pom? They're like kind of Koopalings, but they're not. They're like lower rank than Koopalings. Boom Boom gets to be the mid-castle boss in a lot of castles, and then there's a Koopaling at the end.
Yeah, well, that just means, I mean, he's like extra high up then because you have to face him so many times.
Yeah, true. The other
Well, there
person
are
I
at
think
least two of them actually. If
the
it's
other
Boom
person
Boom,
I think would break off is Ludwig, and I don't know. It's just he's got a look about
it's
him
just
that
the
says
eyes.
I'm smarter than everyone else here. You know, I can see it. He'll betray his family.
I mean, you don't have to betray your family to break off.
To declare independence. I mean, Independence Day is celebrating independence from another country, and that was like through war. So I just kind of went that direction with this. So he'd break off. He would take all of the. I mean, maybe there would be like a division among the Bowser subjects. So you'd have Goombas on one side and Koopas on another. That would be an interesting game. Let's see that. It's an RTS game where you play
Bowser's Army, Civil War.
yeah. Yeah. That's a great question though, Solo. Thanks for asking that one. Super fun. Along those same lines, we had in chat earlier, Blondie asked, "What are you doing for the 4th of July?" Now, 4th of July is something we celebrate here in the United States, and it's just it's a party. We launch fireworks, celebrate the independence of America, north of the United States of America, not of America. I still think it's weird that we just call it America, but there's North America, South America, and all of that is America, is it not? I don't know. I don't know how it
There's
works.
the United America and the non-United America.
Yeah, the non-United America. That's I'm sure all of our
The much less offensive way of putting it.
the Canadian friends would all be very, very agreeable with that.
Hey, I mean, what can you say? Canadians are just very agreeable people. Unless you're playing hockey, potentially.
So what are you doing for the 4th? You got any
Not
plans?
much.
Nice.
Except have a friend out of town visiting that day.
Nice.
So probably play some ping pong.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna do the like regular 4th of July festivities. We'll probably do some like barbecue-ish meals. I don't have a barbecue, so probably just grill on my stove some hot dogs or something. And then we got fireworks. Now Costco has a pack of like 50 fireworks for $50, and it's a big pack of fireworks. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Does it come with like a mortar?
No, it doesn't come with any mortars. These are all the fountain fireworks, and the reason we gravitate towards that is because it's a bit more little kid friendly than the mortars, which are really big and loud. We'll probably get some mortars as well, just a separate thing. But
yeah, we'd always get like a couple of those. That I think they're like Black Cat brand or whatever. Don't know if that means anything to anyone.
Yeah, we'll talk about this in the post show. I'll go get it, and I'll read you off all of the firework names because
nice.
Like who names these things?
Some have great names.
they do. You know, like Zesty Cowboy Sparkler. Like what? Why? What? It's always something like that sounds so generic and like an AI wrote all of the brand names for these fireworks. Anyway, thanks so much for the question, Blondie. We answered it again. We answered in the pre-show. We're answering it again. Next question here comes from Tyler. who's actually Presto, who's actually
Tyler?
copying the AI Tyler from the AI episode of the video. But it's a good question. I thought when it came up, I was like, wow, this is a good question that the AI made up for a made up viewer. What do you think about Nintendo making a new Mario Kart game for Switch instead of reprising old games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? Do you think it'll happen?
Well, at some point,
At this
I'd
point, I
like.
say no.
You don't think they'll ever make a new Mario Kart game?
Not for Switch.
Oh, for
Nope. I
that,
think
that
Mario
that's a
Kart
good
9 will
point.
be. I think Mario Kart 9 will be on the next system. Yep.
I
And
don't
it's
know. We're only
actually
like
going to be
halfway through the life cycle, although we still got like one more year until the DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe finishes.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Final Remix will be the next game.
Or new Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Plus.
I've heard that new looks very cool in Japanese.
That's why they use it on everything. New Mario Kart 8 Deluxe plus Bowser's Fury.
That
2.
would be tempting.
Bowser's Fury to plus Bowser's Fury 2. And you just throw a sequel to Bowser's Fury in there for no reason at all. Thanks so much for the question, Tyler. And the next one is a follow-up question, not from Tyler, but from other new listener via AI, DZoe1234, who asks, what is the future of retro consoles? Do you think there will be a new NES Classic or SNES Classic? This is by Purple Ryulu, by the way, who asked this question.
I mean, eventually.
You
Another
know what?
10 years down the line.
You know what AI you and I thought? AI you and I were like, we have a very personal connection to the N64. So what if they made an N64 mini? It's like, that sounds exactly like what we would say.
That would be even better for sure.
Why are we even doing this show? We should just have AI Andros and AI Micah do this show. They answered that question very well, I think. Check out our YouTube channel where that video will be up, where you can listen to that. And I'm thinking of releasing that as a bonus episode as well. The episode they made.
Actually, that reminds me of something I left out of what you're playing. I played some NFL Blitz 2000 on the N64.
Oh,
Yep, I
go
played
back.
one game against Lincoln, and then it kind of broke. And it kept just doing random things. It was getting random inputs. So we'd like start
weird.
the game up, and it would just start like cycling through the menus, like hitting A and B.
No, that's
So
lame.
yeah, we're planning on opening it up and seeing if there's just something obvious, or if we can just like clean it out, and hopefully it starts working again.
Were you playing on an N64 then?
Yup.
Okay. Yeah. N64 online. Sorry, I just my baby started crying on the baby monitor, and I did not comprehend what the noise was. It started. It was like, and then he started crying. I was like, was that my cat? Behind me making a weird noise. But will we get future consoles like the NES Classic or the SNES Classic? Both of those sold really well. I don't know. I think they're kind of taking the approach with their retro content right now of the Nintendo Switch Online app. But I would love to see more mini systems come. Like, let's get a Game Boy and Game Boy Advance Mini, like that. If they're not going to bring those to the Switch through NSO, like give us a new system that can play a collection of those games. That would be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually, like way down the line, like I said, they could make another NES Classic or SNES Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Because eventually these like new classics will become retro again.
Yeah, True.
And then they'll
True.
have to make the new NES Classic.
All
Or
right.
the
You want to
NES
ask?
Classic.
You want to move to the next question here?
Yes, by N. Johnson. What is your least favorite game style to play? For example, Souls-like, MMO, MOBA, etc.
Horror.
Oh yeah, horror. That's it.
Horror. Scary games. That's my least
That's
favorite.
the answer.
And then second least favorite is first person shooters. So if it's a combo of those two, which most horror games are, then I'm like, I'm out. That's not my game.
What if it's a VR horror?
Definitely out. There's that is a I will not do it, because that is so scary. VR is scary in not scary games, because you're just limited in your scope of vision and your senses, and just like things can jump out at you even when they're not intended to be scary. You'll just be like,
Yeah, you just
oh!
like turn a little bit and there's something right there, and you're like, oh gosh.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit disorienting,
But
and so
I guess, is that a game style to play, or is that a genre of
well, I mean, first person
of
shooter is like a game
the
style to
first
play,
person shooter? Yeah, for sure. But
but
I meant mostly the
horror
horror
being a genre, I
or style.
guess.
I don't
I feel
know
like
what
it's
I'm asking
I
here.
feel like that's a little bit of both. It's kind of a style and a genre, like a type of game.
I guess that's true, because they tend to have their own sort of
Yeah, I mean,
mechanics.
you're not playing like you're not playing a MMO horror game, or a MOBA that's a horror game, or a platformer that is a horror. Well, I guess you could actually. So maybe I'm talking myself out of this, but yeah. And Johnson clarifies in chat. He said genre or game style, whichever you prefer. Those are going to be my two answers, I think. What would you say for you? You say
Yeah,
horror as well.
definitely a horror. I feel like I've kind of moved also away from kind of puzzly games. It like kind of depends on the puzzle. Sometimes like whenever I get to these like ice slide puzzles in games now, instead of like planning it out, I'm like, I'm just gonna slide things and see if it works out. I've gone too lazy with
Wow,
my puzzle solvings, and a lot of these kinds of puzzles you can kind of just like brute force kind of
that's
easily.
that's funny, because I was a brute forcer as a kid, and am way more into those games now. I've played a lot of indie puzzle games on the Switch, and I really enjoy them.
Yeah, and I
So
guess a lot of it depends on the puzzle,
mm,
because some of them are really good and you have to like plan it out and think about it, and then
yeah,
other times it's like it's not worth it. I'm just gonna do things and
yeah.
probably be right pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, I think that basically covers the bases on this question. The reason I don't like horror games is because I don't like being scared, and I have the type of brain that overanalyzes and overthinks and plays things on repeat. So, like, for me, it's a struggle to intake anything that will have like any sort of negative impact on my
Yeah,
emotions.
especially when you're turning the light off at the bottom of the stairs and you got to run up to the top. You don't need that sort of stuff replaying.
It's just hard for me to not think about afterwards, if that makes any sense. So I will be lying awake at night and be like, what if there's what if there is a zombie, a demon monster under my bed? After
Yeah, but
watching
then
or
if you got your
listening to
blanket
it.
on, you're safe, right?
Put my snorkel.
So there's, well, I mean, you don't.
Yeah.
There's blankets actually are magical. You don't need your whole body under them. You just need part of your body under the blanket. So even the smallest amount protects you.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to like be definitely fearful of sleeping in the dark as a kid, but now if there's any light, I can't sleep. So pitch black darkness for me it is. And so that's why I don't play horror games, because I
Because
sleep in
anything
pitch
could be
black
in that
darkness.
pitch black
Yeah,
darkness.
exactly. You got me. Next question here. This one comes from Spotify. The last one came from Spotify as well. This one comes from Spotify too. From Daisy Rose. Can you do a deep dive on a game? I would love to see you guys do a Zelda or Animal Crossing deep dive. I don't know 100% what this means, but we're going to do it for tonight's pal topic. That's right. We're going to be doing a deep dive here on
with zero preparation.
With like zero preparation. Micah, I'm going to leave this up to a coin flip on whether we do Zelda or Animal Crossing. So, luckily I have a coin right here. Heads or tails? Wait.
Oh.
Heads Zelda, tails Animal Crossing.
Well, I'm still calling tails.
Yeah, I don't know why I had you call it. Zero preparation. All right. It's heads. So we're doing a deep dive on Zelda. But which Zelda do we do a deep dive on? I think we can't do a deep dive on Wind Waker or Ocarina of Time. Those are off the table.
But why?
I don't want to talk to you about those. I'm 100% honest. I don't want to have those conversations
Why
right now.
wouldn't you want to talk about Wind Waker, though? I wouldn't even bash on it the whole time. I just talk about how good it is.
Because anytime we talk about Wind Waker, you bash on Ocarina of Time. So let's talk about a different Zelda. Let's talk about...
Well, we can't talk about Twilight Princess, then.
Well, let's talk about our favorite Zelda. Breath of the Wild.
Oracle of Seasons. Breath of the Wild, sure, yes.
A deep dive on Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And what I mean by... So what do we mean by deep dive? I don't know. I think we're just going to...
I believe it means an in-depth examination or analysis of the game.
So... Thank you, Micah. I want to talk
to make that seem like I was reading it as much as humanly possible.
I want to talk about some of the points of the game because I have recently encountered multiple people through work and other places that have been like, Breath of the Wild wasn't that great. Or like, I didn't like it.
Did you immediately punch them right in the throat?
I would have if HR wasn't involved in the in that sort of claim. Oh, 100%. How dare you? Kapah! You know, Falcon punch right there. No, we don't we don't support violence in any form here.
Yeah, especially if you're going all violence. Falcon punch, that would definitely injure someone if you hit them in the throat. I was thinking more of a gamer
tap,
punch to the throat where we don't know what we're doing.
Silly guy, boop, boop him right in the throat.
Yeah, a boop to the throat with your fist.
Why is Breath of the Wild so great? And here's the thing: like a lot of the points that were brought up on why it's not is, oh gosh, I can't. The Falcon boop.
Falcon boop. I like it.
Falcon boop. A lot of the points brought up were like it didn't have the classic dungeons. There wasn't much of a story, and just wasn't as good as previous Zelda. Besides that last point being completely wrong, the other points are valid. Like the story was a little bit, it was told in a different format than is typical of Zelda games because it wasn't linear.
It's kind of like a mystery you were trying to figure out a little bit.
And probably not as crazy of a story either, you know, like not as twisty and deep of a story as something like Twilight Princess, Majora's Mask, even Wind Waker. I felt like had like a lot of layers to it.
I was like, I haven't played through all of Majora's Mask, but is there really that much story? It's like this Skull Kid's gonna crash a moon on you.
Yeah, that one's very story heavy, but it's like a lot of the side characters are the story heavy parts. But what makes Breath of the Wild so great is the gameplay. Like we said before, the gameplay is king. So the open world formula had been explored quite extensively previously. Breath of the Wild perfected that. I'd say prior to this, like the most like influential open world game was probably Skyrim. I guess Minecraft as well. Those are both.
Yeah, but that's a different style of open world.
But Skyrim was crazy. Huge world that you could explore with towns and characters and tons of side stuff and all sorts of things. But man, was that game a buggy mess. Like you want to travel off the road, it's going to be an adventure. That's for sure. like it became like a meme, the horse going up the
Up the
mountain,
mountain, yeah.
like it that that doesn't happen in Zelda. You can go anywhere. You because of the climbing mechanic being just amazing, you could really like you see something, you're like I can go there any at any point and at any time. And most of the time there's going to be something there. A lot of times it's going to be a Korok, and you might get a little disappointed by that after like 800 of those. But it was just such a rewarding exploration game.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun to explore. Which can't be said of all open world games.
Right. And I remember my first playthrough of it being like, there's a lot of empty space. But as I have played more and more of this game, because I have like a ton of hours into Breath of the Wild, I am finding new things in all of these spaces where I'm like, look at this, like this interaction that you can have here, or like this outcropping of stones, or like learning new things, because it's also very physics based with the runes. You can do things with like interacting with the world and find there's like a million ways to solve a single puzzle. And it's so rewarding in that regard. I feel like if you come to this game with a linear Zelda mindset, you are not going to enjoy it at its full capacity. You need to free your mind. You need to get out of your box that Zelda's painted for you, and you need to just go wild. Like you can literally do anything. You see an enemy, you're like, can I throw my sword at this guy? Yeah, you can. You can throw your sword. You could
Yeah,
blow up the rock.
like a little bit of an unpopular opinion. I didn't like how further in the game your weapons lasted longer. I enjoyed at the beginning when like you're fighting a bunch of dudes and you're just like constantly throwing your things that are about to break at them.
Oh yeah.
That was like the best part of fighting.
Well, and the braking mechanic is intentionally there to force you to try new weapons and new things, because this was also the first game to be as extensive with the selection of weapons. I mean, first off, you have one-handed sword, two-handed sword, spears,
Which,
boomerangs,
to be fair, Wind Waker had all those things. Just saying.
boomerangs. You are right. They have
I mean,
boomerangs.
they didn't have
Oh
quite
yeah,
as
they had
many
the boomerang.
versions,
Um,
or like not as many attacks you
uh,
could do with it compared to the regular sword.
that's what I was about to get at. So I'm thinking, am I missing a weapon class? I feel like I am.
I mean, they have the wands.
The wands. They also have sticks and Korok leaves.
Oh,
Oh,
the
the
Korok leaf.
Korok
Yeah,
leaf.
those
Oh, the
count as a different
Korok
thing.
leaf is such a freaking cool thing. I love all the stuff you can do with that. Yes, bow and arrow, as and Johnson points out in chat. But then within that, there are like tons of different types of weapons in those classes. There's so many different types of spears that have different damage and durability and abilities. And then there's like magically infused weapons. And then there's like the guardian weapons, which are like crazy cool lightsaber sci-fi weapons. So like you can really go crazy with just the weapons and combat in that regard. uh and then like you said, options with the combat. Like there's so many different attacks you can do with those things. You can throw your weapon, charge attacks, the slow-mo, bullet time attacks.
The flurry rush.
Yep, flurry rush, that's what it's called. Or you can just come in and spam, you know. And the thing about
Don't have
the
weapons, just alternate between the bomb ruins.
it's true. It's true. And the thing about Breath of the Wild was also pointed out in chat here, the simplicity, because you don't have to know any of those things. There were multiple people that made it all the way through the game never doing a flurry rush, or never knowing that you could hold the charge button to do your attacks, because you could play the entire game not using those features. And I think that sets this game a tier above other games, in that it is so user friendly and open to newcomers that you don't have to be highly technical with the game, but then you can be. So that like low entry, high skill ceiling kind of, I think that's the terminology I'd use here. That kind of play for Breath of the Wild. You like the combat in this game, right? I know you're a big fan of Wind Waker's combat, and this is like probably pretty comparable, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. It has the more dynamic combat where enemies, like different mixes of enemies, cause different things to happen. Kind of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
unlike Ocarina of Time.
Oh gosh, here it comes. Here it comes. No,
But no,
you're
yeah,
right.
it's the fighting just seems a lot more dynamic in this, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have the bokoblins that rush you while that one will stay back and just throw rocks at you or something,
Yeah,
and
and then
it
your
just changes up a
weapons
lot.
your weapons are affected by the types of enemies you're fighting, the weather you're in. Like wooden weapons will hold in a rain thunderstorm, but if you have metal on you, you'll get struck by lightning. Uh, and
Yeah.
I
Plus, I think
forgot.
we found out you can get struck by lightning while not holding anything metal, right? Didn't you get hit in the Trial of the Sword?
I think that was the case. Yes. Yeah. But I didn't die, if I remember
No,
correctly.
I'm pretty
It
sure it
was
hurt you
very
a
cool.
lot though.
It did.
Because
Um,
I just always assumed you couldn't get struck by lightning in that game unless you had something metal, until lightning struck very close to me one time, and it made me wonder.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I questioned my mortality in that moment.
so that's the combat, but then I mean the other side of combat is the enemies, and there are so many different types of enemies, yet there really aren't that many that many types of enemies. You've got bokoblins, moblins. Those are like the base that are gonna be everywhere, with Lizalfos as well. Those are like the base enemies, the
Then they have the
Goombas and
bats.
Koopas, if
Can't
you
remember what
will.
they're called.
Oh, bats,
Keese.
Keese. Chews, the slimes.
Yeah, which sometimes explode with cool elemental power when you
And
destroy them.
that's, I mean, that's really it for the base enemies. And by comparison to other Zelda games, that's not a lot. Like there is a I was playing through Skyward Sword recently. There are a ton of different enemy types that you can face in the game. But then there's also, I guess, the
Almost like the mini boss tier.
yeah, Hinox and
The talent, what is something like that, isn't it? The rock dudes.
Stone Talus.
Talus. That's what it was.
And
And then they
I
have
am
the Lionel,
completely Lionel. Thank you. I was like, I'm
and
completely
they even have
blanking on
like
what that line.
bears, but those aren't really enemies.
Yeah,
And
you
you
can
can
ride
ride
the
them.
bear. You
That
can
was
ride the
awesome.
bear. Yeah, that is a great addition. Yeah, and you can play the game stealthily. You can play the game where you kind of just you build up and just become a tank. But it's not
They have different like armor bonuses, which is
right.
nice.
And the thing about that is it's not a level up system, so you can swap to be any type of build anytime, depending on what clothing you're wearing. And they're very simple. I mean, this isn't like Dark Souls where you're like, I'm putting points into this specific category, or Skyrim where you're like, where it's that complex of an RPG. But it
Yeah,
does a
you
lot
don't really
with a
lock
little.
yourself in
Right. It
with your
does a lot
efforts.
with a little. I'm not that I'm not a fan of those types of systems, but I really enjoy that you can kind of go, I'm going to play Breath of the Wild like this and play it like that at any point. You go, well, maybe I'll try switching it up and doing more of this. Like you could play with only bows and arrows. I beat the game that way with only bow and arrow. That was actually super hard because stinking thunder blight. So that's that. Where I was going is that there's not a lot of enemies, but there's like tiers of enemies, so they change up how they attack and what sort of health and damage they deal. Um, so even though there's not a lot of variety, it feels like there's a lot of variety.
Yeah. Although that's one of the things I kind of hope they add in Breath of the Wild too. I hope they have a
Hmm.
couple more enemy types.
Yeah, I hope so
which
as
they
well.
showed like the stone talus with like a fort on its back.
Yeah,
I was very excited about that.
that
That looks
seems
awesome.
that seems really cool. Like you're getting attacked by like archers while the stone talus is
Yeah,
fighting
I mean,
you.
it also actually sounds like it'd be really annoying, but
I
it at least looks awesome.
Yeah, it does. It looks cool. That's what it's all about, looking cool. Yeah. So, talking a lot about combat here, I wanted to hit back on the point of the story. There is a really cool story here, and it isn't just in the mainline go rescue Princess Zelda from the castle. It's in each and every NPC having a really cool personality, or cool person, like having a very unique personality and distinct characteristics that makes this feel like a living, breathing world. I will admit that it feels a little light on NPCs, especially in the overworld areas, but around the towns and the camps, they feel very alive. Um, yeah, and I find myself like talking to each of these characters and going like, wow, there's like such a there's a story here, and you can tell that there's a story there, but they're not telling you the story. You're just coming in as Link on your journey, like in the middle of their story as a character. For instance, in Hateno Village, there's a shop. I believe it's Hateno Village. There is a shop where the shopkeeper stands over in the corner, and she's like huddled and very not outgoing and very unshopkeeper like. And you go and you're like, and she's like, "Oh, I prefer to stay over here." And if you like read, I think if you read the journal of the character, you find that the price chart is all over in that corner, and she is terrified that she will mess up if she doesn't have the notes. So she is constantly over there manning the shop from over in the safe corner, and is trying to make her dad proud or something like that. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Plus, there's also that cool bridge guy. If you
Yeah.
stand up on the edge of the bridge,
And he stops you from jumping off. He's like, "You have so much left to live for." It's so like what a
what a
random thing.
guy!
What a random thing to
Yeah,
put in
I
there.
think it's also kind of funny because isn't that bridge just like 10 feet to the water or something?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's like one of the first NPCs you'll encounter too, which is interesting. Um
And
there's
that's something
the
that like very few people will encounter. How many
there's
people are
the
just gonna like stand up on the edge of that bridge for a minute?
yeah. There's the crazy lady that
The
is
flowers.
there's that lady. There's with the
Oh, you're
flowers.
talking about
There's
the ball
the one
thing?
that's in love with the puzzle ball. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her name is Loon. And I know that character just because she's very weird and she's just obsessed with guardians. You have to show her a picture of a guardian in order for her to
Break
leave
up with the
leave
puzzle ball or something.
I believe its name is Rocco, is what she calls it. So yeah, Rocco the puzzle ball that she's saying. Yeah, that's weird. That's a weird one, but I mean there's just so many characters. And if you like, I would love to see just like a little mini documentary on every single NPC in Zelda. There are so many, and each of them has their own unique story. There's the Kuko farmer that is so obsessed with Kukos that his wife left him. And then there's his wife that is like, I'm not going back there. That guy's crazy. And the guy that's like a former Yiga clan member that left the Yiga clan and is being like bullied by the Yiga clan into stealing from the town. Like there's character here. And I feel like the story is very much what you make it in that regard, and makes it a little bit uh it makes it a little bit hard to like parse as to like what it's not holding your hand on the story. It's not going to have long drawn out dialogue sessions ever. You can skip everything. So there's that.
Yeah. And I feel like even like Zelda and Link, are more fleshed out than in most games. Like Ocarina of Time, it's like it's Princess Zelda, they're princess. Link, you're a fairy child, but you're not really. That's it. You like don't really find out much about them.
Mhm.
But like especially in like the memories and things, you kind of find out more about their personality and things, I guess.
Yeah, especially for Zelda and the memories. But then you learn about Link through like reading the secret journals.
Yeah, and you don't talk because you're under an immense amount of pressure and things like that. So you're a man of few words.
Oh
Can't remember
man,
how it was worded and whatnot.
Link is such a cool guy.
Although I would say I think Skyward Sword did that pretty good as well.
That's true. And Skyward Sword also had really cool characters, but not nearly as many as Breath of the Wild. Yeah, I think that there's a lot there with those NPCs. I would love to like explore more of that. Um, like I feel like I could go into The Legend of Zelda and make like a mini documentary on little bits and pieces of of Breath of the Wild's world. I mean, you've got these entire ruins. And there are channels that do this, like that are dedicated to the lore of Breath of the Wild and its Hyrule. There are entire ruins of like previous civilizations, the forest growing around it, and you're like, what's the history here? Can you find out more about that? There's the giant mazes, the what are those called? The labyrinth puzzles, and there's
And
four of
they're like,
those.
are there four? I think don't they usually give you like the Lionel armor set as a
Mhm.
reward?
Yeah, so what's the tie there? The Lionels themselves are very interesting. Like they
Murder centaurs.
they but they don't attack you right away upon notice. I mean, if you leave them alone, they leave you alone.
I don't think that's true.
That is true.
I don't think so.
Yep.
I have a picture on my Switch of me looking at a Lionel. I actually have multiple pictures because I took a picture of it and then it turned and shot an arrow at me when I was just taking pictures of it.
Oh, you might have gotten too close. But
Oh, I think it was
if you
relatively
approach a
far.
Lionel, it shows up with an exclamation mark above its head and it will stare you down. But if you just walk away, it won't chase you.
Hmm.
Yeah. You didn't know that. There you go. Learn something new today,
Nope.
man.
Yeah, I
Like that's how Breath of the like that is something that I experience in Breath of the Wild every time I play. I learn something new about the game, something I can try, something I can do different. And that's just so cool. I love messing around. I said it already. I love messing around with the physics. There's this spot over by the Gerudo Desert, like getting into the Gerudo Desert with a system of pulleys and metal boxes that you can use to raise and lower yourself. Or you could just launch the box with yourself on top of it to get up to that height as well. Or you could climb it. Like there's so many ways to get from point A to point B. And I remember at first going like, man, this is such a drag to get from point A to point B, but now I'm just loving the journey and just soaking in the surrounding area. All the biomes that there are in this game. I don't think you really notice as you like go in that first bit that you're like it's all kind of forest and grass and maybe some grassy fields. There's desert, there's snow, there's like tropical jungle. I You can go the
oh yeah.
entire game
It
never
tends to
going.
storm more, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you could go the entire game never going to that tropical jungle. It is never required that you go over there because there's no divine beasts over in that region. And that's the case for a lot of regions. There's entire regions and there's like different tree types for the different regions, and these are just things you just don't really notice on your first playthrough. I think you just tend to be just kind of overwhelmed by the openness and then maybe kind of like go but that second playthrough really has. I remember the first playthrough, I thought Breath of the Wild is a really good game. It's super fun. I think it's awesome. Second playthrough, this is the greatest game of all time. Like that was when it sort of started to hit me, and I felt like, well, I still can't give it to it because it's recency bias. But we're 5 years after that game came out, And I can confidently say that that game is the best in the series. Like, it's just so good. There's so much you can do with it. I didn't even talk about physics. Octo balloons. Those are super fun to play with.
Oh yeah, I feel like I kind of wish they made you do more with that. I had to
Mm-hmm.
randomly look it up to find. I was taking a picture of this Lionel, all peaceful like, and then it just started charging its bow at me from so far away,
Maybe it doesn't
and
like pictures.
almost just killed me. But yeah, I feel but yeah, I think some of them might just be aggressive. It might depend on like the tier they are, because there's
True.
also that one at the top of like the Zora domain that's like part of the storyline,
Yeah, that
and
one
you're
is
supposed to sneak
aggressive.
around.
That one is
So maybe I'm just
aggressive,
biased by remembering that one.
but I think that one is by
Maybe I'm just
design for that
always
side
really
quest.
aggressive when I see a Lionel. Like, it's your day to die.
Oh man, yeah, it's and here's the thing: is like you can choose to sneak around for that mission, or you could just be bold.
Yeah, because
And
they like recommend you sneak around and like grab all the lightning
mhm.
arrows, shock arrows. I think they're called actually.
Speaking of Zora's domain, there's like the intended path that you can take up, but if you do the right stuff, you can actually get in from other places. Like you have enough stamina and patience while climbing in rain, you can go up the backside of Zora's domain and get in that way. And the game intends for that to happen. Like if you go that way, you get a different cutscene where Sidon introduces himself in the palace versus out at the beginning of the uh, walkway to the palace. And let me tell you, that is way better than going up the right way because that
Oh,
path
really?
was long, rainy,
Huh.
and
But then you
horrible.
get to read all like the stone tablets.
About his journeys. Oh,
Yeah,
more story, and how Sidon's the best. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, he's a cool character, man. He's a cool character. And yeah, and I like all the champions, and then the like,
3 of the 4 champions.
yeah, that's true. And then the like pseudo new champions that help you get to the divine beasts. I still am baffled that they didn't become the new pilots. That's what I thought was going to happen. You're like, all right, um, Sidon, you're going to pilot Va Meadow, not Va Meadow, Va Ruda now.
Yeah,
But
but
no,
then
they're
they
just
might
like
have died again, so it's safer this way.
they're like, let's just have it piloted by the spirits of the former champions, which I guess works. They somehow are still there, but not. Zelda does this a lot, though. Like with the sages, they're all kind of like, we're ghosts, but we're not ghosts. Like that.
We're
That's how.
powerful ghosts.
Yeah. I mean, the whole old man thing. Like he was a spooky ghosty the whole time, but he
So
has
I
like
mean,
a
you do kind of like horror games then.
he had like a house and his own journal that you can read. Like there's just so much if you dive in. But I think a lot of people didn't because they were just so used to what Zelda had been. It's time to break free, I think. I think it's time to dive in, go back, look through, go to the castle, look through the journals in the castle, or go to each of the towns, like really like study and learn about all the characters because there's so much there. There's so much game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as long as you don't mind reading people's private writings.
Yeah, that's true. I also learned fairly recently that if you cut the wheat, you can get wheat on the farm. Like if you do a sword
It's
and you're
like,
cutting out there,
I
you'll
think
get
I knew that.
you'll get Tabantha wheat. I didn't know that until I did the
Also,
cooking
you
run.
also recently found out the real way you're supposed to get to the forest with the master sword.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that was
It blew my
that.
mind.
You're like, yeah. So the master sword is hidden in the lost woods, right? And we're going through the lost woods and you were like, just follow the wind.
Yeah, well, yeah, like Muggles Moo was going through, and you told her. I don't even remember how you said to do it. Something about like
Oh,
listening to
follow
the
the
music,
torches.
or
Follow the torches, and then yeah, like if you're not sure where to go, walk a certain direction, and then listen for the music. And if the music starts to get more intense, you're about to get faded away and back up and go a different direction. But apparently, what you're supposed to do is follow the direction that the wind is blowing. And you
Yeah.
learn that from some random
Someone at
NPC.
like a stable or something like that. One of those like
Yeah.
stable places.
Listen, I made it through the Lost Woods multiple times not knowing
It
that.
blew my mind that like you've played through the game so many times and you like didn't know. But
Yeah.
it was like how we did it in Ocarina of Time. You get close to like the path, and if it like lights up, you're good. If it stays dark
Yeah,
through
so
the
I was just
tunnel,
I was
you
just
to back
stuck.
away.
I was stuck in my box, man. The what Zelda had put me in previously, I applied, but there's more than one way to solve the puzzle. Like, that's the thing. In previous Zelda games, every puzzle has a like singular way you solve it unless you are using glitches, right? Like, it is, this is what you have, this is what you do, with the exception of maybe combat, right? Combat is the variable thing, but the puzzles, those have one solvable thing. This game is a series of puzzles and actions in an open world that you can solve through a myriad of ways. For example, a shrine that I went in recently had an ice block that you needed to present at the door of the like monk shrine area in order to open it up and get the spirit orb and win the shrine. And you have to take it up this maze of fire obstacles essentially and find ways to cover it or sneak it around the flames so that it doesn't melt. I stasised the ice
And just
cube
punched it.
and I punched it
I knew it.
and threw it all the way at the door and unlocked the door. And boom, solved that puzzle in maybe not the intended way, but in a very doable way. Another thing I also tried in there's a big metal crate. I could set up the metal crate, stasis, punch the metal crate, blow it up underneath, and launch myself into the air, up and over onto the monk shrine thing. But it turns out that didn't work. There was a roof. So, but it was something I could do, could try and do. And I find myself, as I've done the game regularly, like there's the intended route. I find myself going, well, what could I do? What could I
Let's do
do
it the interesting way.
to make this more interesting? Yeah, that is very much how I play Breath of the Wild, and I have a lot of fun with that. And that's probably why I enjoy the speed running side of Breath of the Wild so much, because that's a whole other can of worms. The glitches and tricks and things you can do in Breath of the Wild, first off, intentionally they left a lot of those in, even after discovering, because they could patch that stuff, right? Like, Nintendo is not opposed to patching things in modern Nintendo era, but they don't, because they have the philosophy, if it is fun for the player, then there's no reason not to have it in there. And I just really like that because it's just, again, another tool in the tool belt of ways to solve puzzles and problems. Yeah. A
Like
tower.
people mention how they're like, oh, but Breath of the Wild doesn't have any like real temples and things. I kind of like it this way with the shrines because each shrine is like one or a few rooms of a temple essentially.
Yeah.
It's just broken up into like smaller, bite-sized things.
Um, Micah, we've gone pretty deep dived. I think there is a lot more we could talk about with this game. So I maybe future topic will go more into it, but I think that's gonna about do it for this episode of Nintendo Pals podcast. Uh, if you haven't played Breath of the Wild, do it. It's such a great game.
And what's wrong with you?
So with that, let's move to the end of our show. Thank you so much to everybody for listening. I got to give a huge shout out to our Patreon patrons, patron pals over on Patreon that help support the show. Love all the support and help that we get from the listeners out there, either through Patreon, through just listening, through leaving us a 5-star review. It really helps us out a bunch. We love making this stuff and really glad that people enjoy listening to it. So with that, if you would like to follow us on social medias, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and Discord. And links to all of those things are in the description of the show. So definitely check it out. Discord is one of the greatest communities. The Nintendo Pals Discord is one of the greatest communities on the internet. And that is, I can say that absolutely no competition there. It is so fun, and we have a fantastic community there. And I think that's it for plugs. Huge thanks and shout out to our friend Roger Pollard for the intro music that we use each and every episode, and also for doing our logo. If you want to check out more of his stuff, you can find links to that in the description of the podcast as well. And with that, I think it's time for us to unveil the new Patreon wrap, because it's a new month and we have new patrons join. So for the first time ever, the Patreon Poke Wrap for this
Johto.
No, it's not the Johto version. It's still the original wrap, but with more names. So let's fire it up.
We gotta wrap some Patreon. You just do the singing. I'll take care of the hard part. Let's get it on.
We want to be the best that ever was. And shout out our pals over on Patreon.
OD, Riz, or Retro Dodger Dan. Deep Dog the Game, or Schlimp, or Spider Shan. Solo something, Brian Eck.
Little Miss Seven and Cosmic.
Catch 'em, gotta catch 'em all. Gotta catch 'em all. Patreon.
K9 Katina, third strongest one. Tim the Nintendo Dad, and Seth Sturz with Patreon pals at every tier. Join up now, get your name in here.
Gotta catch 'em all, gotta catch 'em all.
Yeah.
Gotta catch 'em all, gotta catch 'em all.
Yeah.
Gotta catch 'em all. Patreon. Let's get 150 or more, yeah, please. To be a Patreon donor is your destiny.
Thank you so much to everybody for listening, and we will talk to y'all next week.